In 1968, a scientist built a perfect world: unlimited food, unlimited water, no predators, no disease, no weather, no scarcity of any kind ever. He filled it with 8 mice, and then he did nothing but watch. Within 4 years, every single one of them was dead, not from hunger, not from cold, not from teeth or claws. They died from something else entirely, and the shape of what killed them looks uncomfortably familiar. The scientist's name was John Calhoun. He called his creation Universe 25. It was a steel enclosure the size of a small room. Climate-controlled, endlessly stocked, built to remove every survival pressure a mouse has ever faced. Food towers that never ran empty. Water bottles that never ran dry. Nesting material replenished on schedule. He wasn't testing hunger. He was testing what happens when hunger stops being the problem. Because for every animal that has ever lived, including you, scarcity has always been the problem. Your entire nervous system was built to solve it. Calhoun wanted to know what your nervous system does once the problem is gone. At first, it looked like utopia. The 8 founding mice explored, nested, and multiplied. Every 55 days, the population doubled. More mice, more litters, more life, faster and faster. This phase even had a name in Calhoun's notes. He called it the Golden Age. For a while, it really was. Space was abundant, food was abundant, and nothing was asked of any mouse except to live. It should have gone on forever. It didn't. Somewhere past 600 mice, something started to shift. Not the food supply. That never changed. What changed was the one resource Calhoun hadn't thought to control. Meaning, every mouse still needed a role. A territory to defend, a mate to court, a hierarchy to climb, a nest to protect. But there were only so many good nesting sites. Only so many positions of status. Only so many roles to actually fill. The population kept climbing. The number of meaningful roles did not. And that gap is where everything started to break. The dominant males were the first to feel it. Their entire evolutionary purpose was defending a territory that suddenly had no edges. Too many mice, not enough ground to defend, so instead, they turned on each other. Fights broke out over nothing. Males attacked mice half their size for wandering too close. Some attacked in packs, cornering victims for no clear reason at all. The females, stressed by the chaos around their nests, became aggressive too. Some began attacking their own young. Litters were abandoned mid-raising. Mortality among infant mice climbed past 90% in the worst zones of the enclosure, but the strangest change wasn't the violence. It was what happened to the mice who avoided it completely. Calhoun watched a new kind of mouse emerge, one that never fought, never courted a mate, never defended territory, never took part in the social world at all. These mice simply withdrew. They spent their days eating, grooming, and sleeping, and nothing else. Calhoun gave them a name that has outlived the whole experiment. He called them the beautiful ones, because without the wear of fighting or mating, their coats stayed perfect, smooth, unscarred, untouched. They looked flawless, and they were in every functional sense already gone. They had simply opted out of being a mouse. Once the beautiful ones became the majority, reproduction collapsed, births slowed, then nearly stopped. The population that once doubled every 55 days began to shrink. Even when Calhoun physically removed mice to reduce crowding, nothing recovered. The remaining mice had already stopped knowing how to be mice. They had never learned to court, defend, or raise young because they'd never needed to try. By day 600, the population peaked at over 2,000. From there, it only fell. The last mouse in Universe 25 died alone. In a world that still had unlimited food. It starved for nothing. It had everything except a reason to keep living the way a mouse is built to live. Calhoun didn't build this experiment to study mice. He built it because he suspected something about crowded, comfortable civilizations. Something about what happens to a social species when every material problem gets solved, but the social ones don't. He published his results with a warning attached, not a conclusion. He called the die-off the second death. The first death is the body. The second death, he argued, is the death of the behaviors that make an animal what it is, and he wondered out loud whether humans were running the same experiment, just slower. You don't live in a steel box. But you might recognize the shape of what he described. More humans than ever have enough food, enough shelter, enough safety to survive comfortably. And more humans than ever are opting out of the things that used to define a life, dating less, marrying later, or not at all. Making fewer close friends than any generation on record, spending more hours alone in a room with a screen than with another person face to face. None of this is happening because life got harder. It's happening in part because a certain kind of friction disappeared. Your ancestors didn't have infinite choices for a mate, a friend group, or a place in the tribe. They had a small number of real relationships that mattered enormously because there was no alternative. You now have infinite options and infinite comparison, and somehow less commitment to any of them. Status used to be earned through visible contribution, a hunt, a harvest, a skill the group depended on. Now status is often just visibility, a number under a photo, disconnected from anything the group actually needs from you. When the roles stop being necessary, some part of you starts to wonder if you're either. That is not weakness, that is the same gap the mice fell into. You've probably met a human version of the beautiful ones. You might have been one for a season, perfectly fine on paper, fed, housed, entertained, safe, and quietly withdrawn from anything that carries real risk, risk of rejection, risk of conflict, risk of being truly known by another person. It doesn't look like collapse from the outside, it looks like a clean apartment and a full fridge and an empty calendar. It looks, if you squint, kind of beautiful. Here's the part Calhoun's mice couldn't do that. A mouse cannot notice its own withdrawal. It cannot ask why the fighting feels pointless or why the nest feels unnecessary. You can. The same brain that evolved to need a role, a tribe, and a bit of productive friction is also the brain reading this sentence right now, aware of the pattern. Awareness is the exit that no mouse in that steel box ever had. You weren't built for a world with no edges. You were built for small groups, real stakes, and roles that mattered to someone. Comfort was never the finish line your ancestors were running toward, connection was. So if the ease of modern life has ever felt strangely hollow, this is why. It's not that something is wrong with you. It's that the last piece of scarcity your brain still needs isn't food or space or safety. It's each other. And that one, unlike everything else, you still have to choose on purpose. If you've ever wondered why you do the things you do, subscribe. There's a lot more upstairs than you think.